Hello, everybody. It's Shelley Devine. I'm here with another episode of Art, Animals, and Spirit. I decided to write the story of my life at one point. Of course, I haven't finished it, but I think that I would like to read a part of it to you right now. So here it goes. I was planning on calling my book Things I Want My Son to Know, and some things I don't. There's been a lot of pain and tragedy in my life, and as a mother, I really want to keep him shielded from it, from the bad stuff, from the really bad stuff. He doesn't need to know. Unless he watches this video, then he's gonna know. Anyway, yeah, so as hard as it might be, I'd like to tell my truth, my whole story, the truth of it. It'll be done in pieces, of course, because it's a long story, but no matter how hard it may be, it's the best way to release the pain and emotions that do me no good to hold on to. Perhaps this will help others do the same, right? Because we do like to hold on to things and it's not good for us. So, okay, here goes. My life is also filled with laughter and love and some very interesting things. My mother loved me. The things she didn't do or did do in my childhood are what they are. She was who she was. I wish she could have been a better mother, but honestly, I feel that she did the best that she could. She was a single mother of three girls on her own, trying to provide for us as best she could. She worked hard and she struggled. She dealt with a lot of anger, alcoholism, and depression. I raised one child on my own, and I know how hard that was. I worked a full-time job and didn't have much left at the end of the day for my son. But I tried. I really tried to make sure that I was a better mother for him than my mother was for me. Oh, I love you, Mom. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke. I didn't do drugs. I never abused or abandoned my son. I love him with all my heart and made extra sure to let him know that he was loved. I know I made mistakes, but I believe I was and still am a good mother. Like I said, my mother worked. Both sisters were off doing their own thing. They were 5 and 6 years older than me. This meant that I spent a lot of time alone. I had a huge imagination and was able to entertain myself pretty well. But the loneliness and the feelings of abandonment cut deep into me. There were times I was left alone in a not so safe situation. At night, I used to sneak into my mother's bed in the middle of the night because I was afraid she would disappear. She would get so mad at me for sneaking into bed, but for some reason, I just couldn't stop. I believed I was around 9 or 10 years old at the time. I got pretty good at being stealthy about it, though. I would sneak into her bed so very, very slowly so I wouldn't wake her up. I would practically vampire myself under the covers. If I held super still, I could stay there all night. Among the things I did to entertain myself were climbing my big tree in the front yard and imagining that it was my flying machine. I would climb up there, I would steer with the branches, I would fly over my neighborhood. I would, I was free. I was in control of this tree and I could fly it anywhere. This was when we lived in Anaheim, California. I lived on a street named Chelsea Drive. It's funny, some things that I remember from my childhood that stick with me forever, like our phone number. I can still remember it exactly. This is my first phone number I ever memorized. So I guess that's why it's stuck. I am now 50, and my memory isn't what it used to be, but I can still remember stuff like my first phone number. I can remember song lyrics from way, way back. The names of all my model horses. I don't know if you remember those Breyer model horses, because I was obsessed with horses. I can still remember the names of all of them. I actually still have them, but they're packed up in the garage, but I still have them. I have a hard time letting things go. Oh, I guess that's why stuff is so deeply embedded in me, and I will never forget it. Because there were things that got me through my childhood. I had a pure love for animals ever since I can remember. I kept a little zoo of critters that I caught. I kept them in a little Tupperware container, well, separate ones, and coffee cans. I had a huge toad I found, and I kept him in this big coffee can. And I don't know if you remember the brand Sanka. So I named my toad Sanka because he lived in the Sanka coffee. Oh, I also had an alligator lizard who used to hiss at me and open his mouth at me. I was a little afraid of him, but and he wasn't happy living in captivity, so I eventually let him go. It was good for both of us. I had bugs, butterflies, caterpillars, and grasshoppers, and even newts. My friend and I would go down to the riverbed and catch newts and salamanders every once in a while. I know that me and my childhood best friend, her name was Lynn, and I used to catch ladybugs by the hundreds because they were in the bushes on the way home from school when we walked home from school. There's a bunch of them. So we scooped them up in a Tupperware dish. We had so many in there. And one day, Lynn and I were in my bedroom and we're just playing and goofing around. And we're like, hey, let's take out a couple ladybugs and, just let them crawl on our finger and let's play with them. Well, so here's what happened. I grabbed the Tupperware jar. It was a margarine jar. And I took the lid and I was trying to open it just a little and it went, like you open a bag of potato chips and it explodes everywhere. That's what happened with the ladybugs. There was a swarm of them everywhere. We were laughing so hard, trying to catch them and put them back in the Tupperware. We caught a lot of them, put them back, but there was the random ladybug I would find here and there, around my room, even weeks after that day. I had no idea how to take care of them. So, of course, they all died. Those that survived, I set them free. This is something a child does. They catch critters and they don't realize what captivity means, you know. Of course, I know that now. I understand that now, but back then I had so much fun with my little zoo. One time I found a fuzzy caterpillar on my walkway and I scooped him up and put him in a tub with a lid. By this time, I had learned enough to put some leaves in there with them for food. And, I always poked holes in the lid, but this, I made sure he had leaves. I kept him in the bushes by the front door, and I actually forgot about him. It was weeks. I hit him really good. That's why I forgot about him. Anyway, when I did remember, I kind of panicked. So I went to go find it and check on him. Oh, I thought I killed him by not taking care of him, and I just couldn't do that again. But when I opened the tub, I was shocked to see a big brown cocoon. I put it in a clear jar and kept it in my bedroom, and so I could watch whatever was going to happen. I really had no idea if it would hatch or if it was dead. I didn't know. Then one day the miracle happened. It actually hatched. I was so amazed. It was a huge zebra moth that came out. I watched its wings dry and spread out where I thought that he could fly. I gave him a little bit of time to really, start flapping his wings. And then I took him outside to let him go. It was an amazing experience to watch him hatch. It was such a wonderful learning experience for a kid, and I just enjoyed it so much. But I had the strong knowing by now that he needed to be free. I took him outside where I found him and I let him loose. He flew to a tree in my backyard. I watched him for the longest time. I was so amazed. I talked to him. I wished him luck because that's what I did, you know? I talked to animals like they understood me. As I was wishing him luck, he shocked me by flying right back to me and landing on my shoulder. I am not even kidding. I was stunned, and yet I felt so blessed at the same time. He finally flew off and I just sat there thinking. Suddenly, like this world of possibilities opened up in my mind. They may have been that may have been when it all started for me. The animals became my very special world. The amazing thing is that moth came back to me for 3 days in a row before he disappeared forever. A moth. Who would have thought such a small being would have the knowledge to show its appreciation to me? At least that's what I thought he was doing. Now I'm more aware of the powers of the universe. I am now a psychic medium professionally, and I know that, maybe it wasn't the moth's thoughts and desires to come back to me and land on me. Maybe it was the universe, God acknowledging me for my actions to free the moth. It was a very empowering experience as a child. I'm going to leave you with that to think about. Bless all of you. I love you all for watching my video, and I so appreciate it. If you would subscribe and, leave a comment what you think. I would love to read them. Absolutely. Thank you so much, and bye-bye for now.